Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new theory and speculation video. Today, I want to talk about Columbina and what I think she could be like. She is definitely the most mysterious of the Harbingers we've seen so far, so I thought it would be fun to go over what we know about her and how she could fit into the story. Now, this video does contain spoilers for the quests listed on screen now, so if you haven't done those, you have been warned. With all that said though, let's get right into the video. Columbina, also known by her codename Damselette, is the third of the 11 Fatui Harbingers. Since the Harbingers are ranked based on strength, this would mean that she is incredibly powerful. According to Nihida, Harbingers ranked 3rd and above have strength that can rival the gods, which would include Columbina. Now, we haven't seen much of Columbina, only her appearance in A Winter Night's Lazo. Here, she sings next to Senora's coffin, appearing kind and innocent. However, this could not be further from the truth. Her innocence may very well just be an act, as both Tartaglia and Wanderer have warned us about her. Tartaglia says that something doesn't feel right about her, and that we should be careful if we ever meet her. He also says that he has no idea why she is ranked 3rd, meaning he likely hasn't seen her in combat. Wanderer hints to us about her oblivious and innocent act, and warns us to stay away from her. Besides that, there isn't much else we know about her. Like I said, she is the most mysterious of all the Harbingers, so this makes sense. However, that doesn't mean there is nothing to discuss. I have plenty of ideas on what her role could be throughout the game, so let's jump right into the theories. Firstly, I think Columbina definitely has some history with Celestia. Based on her design and motifs, she could be a fallen angel of sorts. She may have once followed Celestia, but some event caused her to fall out with the gods. Her story could be similar to that of Nabu Malikata's, and she could be related to the Seelie as well. Now, in the past, I've theorized that Columbina may have a connection with one of the 4 shades, specifically Istaroth. I've covered this in many more connections in my video about Istaroth, so I recommend that if you haven't seen it. Anyways, there are a few details that have led me to believe this connection could be real. We haven't seen much of Columbina, but whenever she was on screen in A Winter Night's Lazo, her eyes were closed. Additionally, her mask covers just her eyes. I have previously theorized that Istaroth has instances around Teyvat that act as her children, and that Istaroth could see through their eyes. If Columbina is one of these instances, she may keep her eyes closed to block Istaroth out and keep away from the heavenly principles. Now, there are also a few details on her design that are similar to Venti's design. Venti also has some connections with Istaroth, so these similarities could be intentional. First off, Columbina wears a bow tie, just like Venti. Her hair is black that fades into pink, similar to how Venti's is black that fades into blue. The crystal that she wears on her jacket is pink that fades into white, which is similar to the feathers next to Venti's vision, as those are white which fades into green. Now then, with those connections established, how exactly will Columbina fit into the main story? Well, based on these connections, I believe that she is most likely endgame content and may not be heavily featured until after Snezhnaya. She will definitely appear in Snezhnaya though, and could even appear in Natlan. As for why she would be in Natlan, the Pyronosis is the last Gnosis that the Fatui need to obtain. As such, the Tsaritsa may send some of her most powerful Harbingers to guarantee that the Pyronosis is obtained. We do know that Capitano is already in Natlan, and he is likely ranked 1st, so perhaps we could get Columbina as well. If she does appear in Natlan, she could tell us more about the Gnosis. Given her potential ties to Celestia, she could even give us lore about the 4 Shades and the Primordial One. Perhaps she could even be a weekly boss in Natlan instead of Capitano. During the fight, she could transform into a biblically accurate angel, which would be incredible to see. Now, if she doesn't make an appearance in Natlan, it's still almost guaranteed that she will appear in Snezhnaya. After all, the Fatui are based in Snezhnaya, so it would make sense for us to meet the remaining Harbingers here. We've only met around half of the Harbingers in the game at this point, so maybe we'll get some earlier so that they're all not given all at once. Beyond Snezhnaya, I've theorized that she could make an appearance in Mondstadt after Snezhnaya's Archon quests. After all, I did just talk about her potential connections with Venti, the Animo Archon of Mondstadt. If she were to travel to Mondstadt and meet with Venti, we could learn more about their connections and also more about Istaroth. A quest like this could even be the first time Istaroth appears in the game. Perhaps we could travel to the Dandelion Sea, which could be linked to these characters, and find where Istaroth is now. Of course, this quest would also give us more information on Columbina and make us more familiar with her. We would learn more about her character and why she would have cut herself off from Istaroth in the past. If Istaroth appears here, the two could talk and get to understand each other better as well. In the end, the traveler would be more comfortable around Columbina, which would pave the way for her to be playable. Speaking of her being playable, that's what I want to talk about next. I really want all of the Harbingers to be playable at some point, which of course includes Columbina. However, I think it may be a bit before she becomes playable. My ideas for her as a character would rely on the aforementioned quest with Venti and Istaroth, so we would have to wait for a return to Mondstadt to pull for her. Again, these are all just my thoughts. She could be the first banner in Snezhnaya for all we know. Anyways, as a playable character, I believe Columbina could utilize Animo. With her connections to Istaroth, Master of the Winds of Time, this would make a lot of sense. She may also not require a vision, having the abilities of Animo naturally. Still, it is possible that she could possess a vision, and if she did, I believe it would be a cryovision. Characters who wield a cryovision are typically outcasts or don't fit in, which I think would fit Columbina. After all, if my theories are correct, she would have cut herself off from Istaroth, making herself an outcast. As for her abilities though, I believe she could have a mechanic similar to the confusion mechanic used by Tighnari. Instead of making the enemies look away from you and attack nothing, this mechanic could draw enemies towards her so that she could attack more easily. This could just be a grouping mechanic, making her good against groups of enemies. Now, both playable Harbingers so far have had a stance change as part of their kit. I mentioned that my ideas would rely on the quest with Venti and Istaroth, and this is where that comes in. Columbina's stance change could have her opening her eyes and unleashing her true power against her enemies. In the past, she wouldn't even want to open her eyes, but after the quest, she may be more comfortable with opening them. Still, this would be for a limited time, as Columbina may still want to go her own way. Either way, since this power would come from her connection to Istaroth, it could have something to do with time. Perhaps it would allow her to freeze her enemies in time, but I have a cooler idea. Her elemental skill could allow her to predict enemy movements and automatically dodge attacks for a limited time. For balancing purposes, time would be added to the cooldown of the skill each time she dodges an attack. Think of this as similar to Tartaglia's skill, as with his, the longer you are in the alternative stance, the longer the cooldown is. Instead of it being based on time, the cooldown would be based on the amount of dodges. The skill would only be up for a set time, making it so this ability can't be overused. Anyways, that's pretty much it for my thoughts on Columbina and how she could fit into the story. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on ideas I mentioned in this video, I recommend my videos on a return to Mondstadt, Istaroth, Arlecchino, and Pantalone. Also, I will be making videos focusing on the other Harbingers in the future as well. I would love to hear what ideas you all have for Columbina in the comments below as well. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Sources and further readings are also in the description if you want to check them out. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next video.